Hopefully you can see my screen. Welcome to week 3. And you probably notice I say every week, where is time going? But genuinely, where is time going? It's nuts to think this week we are halfway through the unit. It is wild. So welcome to week 3. Would anyone like to do just an acknowledgement of country or share where they are tuning in from today? So as always, I'm tuning in from beautiful Yugambeh today and pay my respects to elders past and present and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present today or watching the recording. I know a lot of you are coming from all different places. Mary said Bundjalung, love it. Some people may be zooming in from Perth, Victoria, New South Wales, lots of different places. It's pretty cool when you think about it that we're all connecting from different states. However, I really do miss teaching in person. It would be awesome to do these in person as well. So, welcome. So glad we are kicking off week 3. I'm going to go through some information and then we will look at the assignment again, look at some examples. And then I'm going to show you some resources as well. So our module 3 was about living in two worlds. And speaking of Aboriginal English, so it's spoken by many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. There is different dialects. It reflects Aboriginal culture and perspectives, way of communicating, ways of knowing, being and doing. It's going to vary across different regions. And it's not going to be the same for all people. So it is going to be a variety, as I said, for Aboriginal English. There is going to be different places that people will come from, so urban, rural, and remote, and it's still going to be spoken in different ways depending on how each person has grown up. So I have taken this from the Department of Education from Western Australia, and I always preach about looking at different states and what they provide from the Department of Education because there is so many good resources. Victoria actually has awesome resources as well, so I love to scale across and see what's happening. But this one's from the Tracks Two-Way Learning, and they've got so many different types of resources, information about dialects, how to support you as a teacher, what type of teaching resources that you can do within your classroom for your teaching pedagogy. And this is taken from one of them. And it just is a bit of a diagram explaining about the development of dialects in Australia. So you have your traditional Aboriginal languages and then contact between traditional Aboriginal languages, which is created in that pidgin. Then it moves into this next phase. Over time, this pidgin developed into Australian Creole languages. So you've got your traditional Aboriginal languages, Australian Creole, then with isolation from Britain, Standard Australian English began to develop. So you've got a few moving circles that are happening here and all interrelating. Then it moves from your standard Australian English, Creole and traditional languages continue to influence the way Aboriginal people speak, and Aboriginal English develops over time. So as you see, they're now all starting to mix. Other non-standard varieties of Australian English also develop and are influenced by Aboriginal English. Then at the moment, it says currently in Australia, the linguistic situation might be traditional Aboriginal languages, then you've got your Creole, Aboriginal English, Standard Australian English, non-standard Australian English, and then other community languages. So these are just all different types of things to think about when you are teaching. And I say that doesn't matter for any student, whatever background it may be, especially when we are working with EALD students. And depending as well where you're going to be teaching, these are just things to think of who you are working with. Now, of course, you're not going to say to a student or a parent, so do you speak traditional Aboriginal languages, or are you, are you Aboriginal English? It's just getting to know your student and how they learn, knowing your family. And again, that comes through relationship building. And I know some people want to know quick answers, but everything comes from building really strong relationships. But this is to support your teaching practice and your teaching style within the classroom. So linguistic diversity among all Indigenous Australians. Schools and workplaces should not assume that all Indigenous people speak Aboriginal English, and recognising different language backgrounds. It's really important for your cultural awareness, respectful communication within that classroom setting. It is really, really important, though, that since colonisation, many of the languages has been lost. This could have changed at the moment, but around 20 traditional languages continue to be acquired by children as first languages today. But there is still a lot of a language that has been lost or no longer spoken. And that is a deep sadden for a lot of people for their loss of language, which also intrinsically has cultural loss and knowledge. There is few schools around Australia that do have Indigenous speaking languages as their first teaching kids, which is awesome, but it is something to just be aware of as well. Now, I've got this awesome video. I'm going to play a little snippet. I've worked with Dr. Ray Kelly before at the University of Newcastle, and he is works within the sector of Wallatuga, so that's very similar to what we have at Southern Cross, which is Guinea. If you are not familiar with Guinea, I really do urge you to do some research and reach out. It is our sector within Southern Cross that holds all of our Indigenous units. And they do a lot of work for MOB, which is really amazing. And this snippet here is about Dr. Ray Kelly and the importance of language and how he's trying to learn his cultural language and bring it back into the university. So I'm just going to play it from here because what I've popped on the PowerPoint isn't that loud.
Languages. Today, there are now only about 20. I believe that even as children, we were beginning to start to understand the notion of dislocation, displacement. It's estimated that our people spoke over 250 languages. Today, there are now only about 20 that are flourishing. In the space of a generation, my language was lost. I was lost. I felt a sense of loss. One of my earliest memories is listening to old people talk language, grandfather, great-grandfather, around my nan's fire. What is it they're saying? Our intrigue is there immediately. Historically, Aboriginal people were forbidden from talking language, so what ends up happening is you lose connection, you lose a sense of vision, you lose a sense of optimism. So we grow up with this sense of loss. Then you can understand why the importance of this language now and the value of this language is so powerful. People said there were recordings of our old people talking. So I got hold of these tapes, and to have the ability to push a button and hear their voices awoke something in me. It was like a gift from the past. I didn't just want to know who they were or what they were saying. I knew I had to understand it fully. I had to get somewhere where I felt I could connect to it. In some ways, I went back to the fire to listen to my grandfathers and to make sense of those sounds that I could hear in between words. That's what I heard. That's what was drawing me back into that place. And so what I've been able to do with those tapes is go, okay, so these old people held on to this language and story and culture, and it's important because they continue to hold the DNA that connects us. And to have these historical accounts now at my hands, I've been able to reconstruct my language and broaden my cultural knowledge. I now have the opportunity to share the gift of language with the next generation of my people.
I think that's really important, celebrating language. If you do ever have students within your classroom who learning language or speak language, I highly recommend encouraging that and sharing that knowledge within your classroom. It's really beautiful. I always come back to when I went back home to Alice Springs and I had we were eating kangaroo tails and we were carving up some digging sticks. The women, some of the elders were teaching me how to carve the digging sticks. And then she started speaking in language to me. And at that moment, it was that point in time where you're like, wow, this is the impact that this has had on our family. So speaking to the elder, going, I don't know our language was so beautiful. And she took the time to try and teach me some words. But I think that's really powerful in thinking about students that may be in your classroom and what their story is. Are they learning language? Do they have a loss of language? How can you bring that into your classroom? A lot of services around community, especially here, do a lot of language programs. So celebrate it, bring it into your classroom. I think it is really beautiful. I know some teachers can get really scared about teaching languages. That's why I always say it's important to have that elder come in who can do that for your class and give you that approval to say you can keep using it within the classroom or putting these posters up. Especially if there is posters in your community at the moment that has been recognised by local elders and approved to use, definitely pop up those posters in your classroom. I know a few people have reached out to me asking if they can put posters up. Absolutely do it. If there's approval, go for it. I think it's so important and it's a fun activity for our students. So some word associations. Again, this is taken from that two-way learning. I just want you to write down, and we're not going to share it, but I want you to write down the first thing that comes to your mind when you read each word. What do you associate the word with home? I want you to write it down or think about it. Family, kangaroo, crowd, open, horse, and fire. I'll give you 60 seconds. And I think this is really interesting, this activity, hearing other people's association to that word gives you a bit of insight to who they are. I think this is also a great activity to do with students as well, looking at what age you could do this with. Now, the next slide shows some examples of associations of Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal participants may provide. So you may see things that you've popped down as well. So home, standard Australian English, this is what the government has popped out, that association of house, address, where's mum, where's dad, your family. For Aboriginal English word associations, it can be the land, ground, where the family is, town, nan and pop, name of the suburb, bush, all the houses of the family, country, I would also say. Family could be mum, dad, children. Aboriginal English words would be nan, pop, family, sisters, uncles, grannies, aunties. You may come from a family as well that your family is huge, and that's just not your immediate family. Kangaroo could come to you as a cute animal or emblem of Australia. Aboriginal English word association, food, set of rules, hunting, preparation, crowd, many people gathered together. Aboriginal English, the closest family members, mob, a lot of people around. Open, opposite of closed, frank, open-minded. This could mean more for Aboriginal English, is an old fella, an old person laying around, exhausted, no money, tired. Horse is big animal with four legs, racing, working competition. That could be looked at as the best, deadly, solid, it's awesome. And then fire, heat, warmth, burning, danger, or medicine, healing, cooking, ability, yarning. I think this is a great activity, and I always say this for all students to get a really good understanding. And I always come back to number one, know your students and how they learn. It's really important to understand your students. But definitely have a look at Track's two-way learning, Department of Education, Western Australia, because they provide quite a lot of resources to support your teaching practice because you're not alone in this. This is another one that I've got off there, which I think is so important. So looking at that planning map, and as teachers, we know we are constantly learning, evolving, changing our programs, changing the way we teach. What might work for one student is not going to work for the other student. So this is a great little snippet of when you plan, you teach, you evaluate it, modify, adapt, teach, reflect, and do this all over again. And this is in relation to EALD or EAD students, particularly Indigenous students. However, I always say any EALD students. So this is a great little flow chart looking at becoming familiar with your content and how it's going to be taught. The basis of your background knowledge about the learners. I always say, you know, students and how they learn. Looking at engaging learning experiences, this always links back to the resources that you are choosing as well. Selecting texts and resources that are interesting but can challenge your student. Selecting learning experiences that focus on improving learners or learning language. But definitely keep this in your back pocket because you will constantly be using this style when you teach and embed lessons. The EALD Hub. So I pop this on my Teaching in Diversity unit. I love to pop it throughout to say, hey, if you haven't already signed up, please, please, please sign up. This is a hub that gives you frameworks, it gives you resources and professional development around Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students and supporting them within your classroom. It is free to sign up. Did I pop it up here? Not that one. If my link wants to work today. Yeah. So definitely sign up. It's for free. And then within the hub, it gives you all different types of lessons and activities to complete, but you can't skip through the programs. But at the end of doing each different activity and professional development, it gives you all different types of resources. It gives you readings. It gives you links to your state policies around Australia. Everything to do to support your learning. So please sign up. It is for free. Definitely put that in your little back pocket. So our quality teaching framework. So this is so important as teachers because it gives us that reflection model for our teaching pedagogy. We have to look at these different types of elements. Are we looking at quality learning environment, the significance of our content and the way we teach, the intellectual quality? So this framework will follow you, the QTF framework for your teaching. Now I've pulled this out because from the two-way teaching book, there was a project that was designed by a school that used that quality teaching framework to then implement within schools. What I love about it is it's got your dimension here, your element, which is your deep knowledge, deep understanding. It links it to a unit design, but then it links it to Aboriginal cultural content. What am I doing to support my students? So, but higher order thinking. So when you are developing content, when you are teaching, are you doing higher order thinking teaching? So links to here, how will students be given opportunities? What will this look like? I've screenshotted the next page. I don't know if I should be doing that, but again, looking at explicit criteria, then it gives you that Aboriginal cultural content. Am I talking between a school teacher, the Aboriginal education officer, or the Aboriginal cultural teacher? Am I using that engagement? Am I looking at how I'm doing it? Am I doing practical engagement, narrative? And I guess that engagement would come with your 8 ways of learning a little bit. High expectations. What does that look like with that Aboriginal cultural content? All of these different style dot points you can easily embed into your own teaching practice. Again, this book was linked for one of your readings, which is really important for your assignment too as well. So doing that, this school collaborating and creating that QTF framework and how would that look for Aboriginal content? Again, it created increased communication and student relationships with parents and community. Hint, hint, that will be a great little reference for your assignment too, when we're looking at why is it important for having that parent engagement and community engagement. Having that, again, was increased involvement with parents within the curriculum and what does that look like, their culture feeling valued. I think that's so important. More Aboriginal education programs going through everyday curriculum, that integration, which is what this unit is all about with your assignment one, finding a resource and how you're embedding that into your curriculum. You're not solely just teaching that separately, but it's running through the curriculum. Increased capacity for all stakeholders and having all Indigenous participants, improved relationships, which is so important. Yeah, so I think that's important to think of when you are going to start unpacking assignment two. I'm not going to speak too early on that because I know we're probably a little bit stressed for assignment one. So hopefully you've definitely absolutely, without a doubt, have looked at the IATSIS guide to help you with your writing for assignment one. And I've taken this screenshot, and the purpose of that guide, as I've said multiple times, is to help you as the educator, and especially when you are out teaching, to critically self-reflect on where you sit, because your self-reflection will constantly change what school you go to, what teachers you work with, what's happening in your own life. To help you support and understand what are the best resources to use. And it says to ensure that teaching resources do not cause harm to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. So I think that's really important. Using this guide is to make sure you're not going to cause any harm. It's that checklist to support you. So hopefully, again, that you're referencing this within your assignment one, because my markers will be looking at it to make sure you've got that cultural understanding and why you've selected that certain resource. So another example, I think I've got about 4 examples to show you. Again, you can lay this out in any way. You may have, you may be blending that part 2 together and speak about the cultural and the educational value in one paragraph. You may separate them. It's completely up to you. So this one here is Story Stones from Clever Patch. Instantly, I can see it's for children aged 3 to 5 years in the early years framework. They've linked their outcome code. This resource can be introduced to children to for the importance of traditional symbols within Aboriginal culture. They've given me a bit of information. The educator can begin by speaking with children about the different symbols and ask them if they know if any. As the group, they can discuss the meanings behind each symbol, and the educator can inform the student that these symbols are specifically from the Hunter Valley region. Now, that's really important. To me, I can see that this teacher's doing their research of what resource they're using, why it's important to what community, especially if they were not teaching on the Hunter Valley. But they've said here the children can locate the Hunter Valley in the map of Australia to strengthen understanding. However, I would be saying in this instance, if I was not teaching the Hunter Valley, we'd be discussing the importance of maybe not appropriating those symbols, and that these symbols can be used, meaning in different places. Before utilising this resource, it needs to be evaluated to ensure it appropriately incorporates perspectives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. They go into about the webpage and where it was sourced from by a dark and young woman. So that's really important. I've always said if you're using an artist, if you're using someone making artifacts, if you're using a video, anyone, just make sure you do your research on who it is and give us a little background information. Then it goes into speaking about, however, Hunter Valley region is not the local region in which the educator would be using this resource, meaning the educator would need to specify to children that this artwork is specific to the Hunter Valley region to ensure a continued respect for the many different Aboriginal communities. Now, that sentence is so important because to us, we can identify that you understand if you're not using a resource from your local area, you've given us information as to it's important as a teacher to acknowledge this, let your children know, and that there is so many different Aboriginal communities, Aboriginal language groups, Aboriginal clans, that it's not that one size fits all. You're not squeezing us all into just being Aboriginal. So that's really important, especially for people that are going to be using a resource that is not from your local country. So just make sure you are writing that within your assignment. This is example number 2. Again, you can see it's laid out in a different way. They've got a video. A lesson context would be for industrial technology, stage 5. They've given me the syllabus outcome. And then they've given me some information of how they're going to incorporate this in their lesson. They've given me information about that students will identify a range of adhesive and complete a table. As part of this lesson, the class will watch the resource video listed above and explore the different uses Indigenous people have for adhesives, presenting their findings in a study. So they're now evaluating this resource. They're using the IATSIS guideline. This resource is culturally sensitive and adheres to the Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. This is also making me think as well. Please make sure when you are writing that you are writing in capitals. If you're referring to Indigenous people, you will be pulled up on this. Capital everything. When in doubt, capitalize. And I know some people have been worried about the word count. Please do not use any abbreviations, such as ATSI people, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. That's highly inappropriate. So just thinking about not abbreviating any cultural words before I forget. Very worried of people doing that. So this video resource explains who is it produced by. It's produced by Mob. They've even given me about who the person is. Again, make sure you know your person. They've talked about this is presented as a Noongar man, Jason Borrow. So please make sure you do your research. It also shows that you as a teacher, when you do eventually go out and you want to research, use your resource, you're really confident about it because you've done your research. You can speak about it inside and out. Students will learn about laws and ethical practices, again, speaking about the importance of it and evaluating it. The first 3 websites listed relate to ethical and legal aspects of intellectual property. So this person's laid theirs out in a different way, speaking about their resource evaluation and then broken it down. Again, completely how you would like to do it and what you feel comfortable with. This one, again, just a different way to explain about that cultural value, looking at your IATSIS guideline and why that's important. Please make sure you're using the correct guideline and not using something else because there is quite a lot of different guidelines out there to support your resources. So making sure you're using the correct one. This one again, they've linked the media, which is really important, so we can have a quick look at the film. They've already told us straight away, Year 9 curriculum, a resource such as Desert P Media is a contemporary and visually appealing multimedia website developed for storytelling processes. A bit of information about it. Hopefully this is helping those people that feel that they have gone way too much over the word count and to see where maybe you can cut back with. Again, if you are speaking about that educational value, you may want to take a bit out from the very beginning and you may want to touch it in that educational value section. This type of authenticity is difficult to convey in a classroom setting. While non-Indigenous teachers can teach these topics empathetically, these resources allow teachers to bring real voices and experiences into the classroom. That's why I'd say it's so important if you are going to talk about languages, you show a video of an Indigenous people talking about languages because it's coming from those authentic voices. It urges youth not to let the system define them and address the statistical incarceration, so they go more into linking to their educational value. So I can see instantly that this person knows their content so well from the curriculum and how they're going to authentically use this resource within their classroom. It's not just that tick a box, I've got a boomerang and we're going to look at science. It is quite enriching in content. Another resource here is a video. I've been looking at previous assignments and there is so many people that really do dig deep to find something that relates to their learning area. This person I've showed similar to last week's. Textiles. I know textiles can be so hard, but as a teacher, sometimes you really have to think outside the box of how to incorporate in your teaching practice. So always look at your content outcome that's going to help you, and then you can embed it. So this was for Bundjalung weavers again, and looking at this video, explaining what they would do in the lesson with this video. What I love about this is this person says students will delve deeper and use higher order thinking to discuss key topics. I think that's also really important, pushing our students for that higher order thinking, that Bloom's taxonomy. Again, part 2, evaluation of resources. Who is it created with? Is it created with mob, by mob, for mob? If it was created for mob, was there any Indigenous incorporation included in that, or any Indigenous person included in that? This person goes on to speak about that it embeds local knowledge, talks about having, this could be extended to learning from country and forming relationships outside of what that lesson is going to be about. It's an excellent resource with the content. This person also goes into that it may unintentionally form biased opinions such as weaving is women's business. However, Indigenous people are known for varied weaved items. So to me, again, I can see that this person has done a lot of research into what they're going to be teaching. And as I said, that's what makes you feel really confident as a teacher. As you know, if you're not a math teacher and you go in and teach math, that would be terrifying. So always make sure you understand the content you are teaching. So as I said before about that terminology, when in doubt, always capitalize. I've popped down the bottom here that writing guide from Guinea. There's lots of different universities that refer to respectful terminology, but just remember, when in doubt, always capitalize and do not abbreviate any of those words either. So I have a website here, and this is Move It Mob Style. So again, if you're ever looking at wanting to look at dance videos, class activities, this one here is episodes about how to move. This could be related to PE, healthy minds. You could use this for any stage. I just said if I could do this in a stage 3 dance creative arts. Again, this is based in Sydney, so I'd be speaking about how this may not be related to the land that we are on. However, these people are from Sydney. This is some information, and let's watch this video. It's really fun, little interactive. As I said last week, if you're going to use a painting, just make sure you find out the story of the painting, acknowledge where it comes from. You could even use this for a group discussion of the importance of the local area, and you may not use it to create your own artwork. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. As I've popped here, a little story about where the artist is from. That's really important, making sure you understand and incorporating that in your writing as well. The Koori Mail. Does anyone read the Koori Mail? This is another amazing resource. I guess like the Sydney Morning Herald, but the Koori Mail, and it pops up all different types of news articles that is happening. So this can be a resource within your classroom, depending any age level, really. It'd be great for high school as well. They have all different latest news stories. that you can use, and this would be a fantastic resource. All different types of articles. And this one's based, Corey Mail's based in Lismore, but they ship out to anywhere because you can get this printed as well. But another great place, podcast, news. This is the type of resources that you can also be unpacking within your classroom. We have another book, just thinking about last time I had someone doing hospitality. So you could be looking at that Kui cuisine. This is all different types of recipes that you can unpack within your classroom. If I was doing this in the classroom, I would also have this tagged along with looking at maybe a bush tucker video. Again, understanding where this has come from. This is from Sydney. Where we've got a bush tucker. This is from the Museum of History, NSW, and it tells me straight away, join Uncle Fred on Fred's bush tucker, and he shares his journey. So again, videos like this is totally fine to use. This is done with Mob, he's sharing his knowledge, and it is on a public platform to use. So I always recommend using resources out there like that. Oh, this is another amazing one that I came across last week. This is an interactive guide. You can sign up, and I think there is some videos. Pop this here. So this is a program that is done. You sign up and it's interactive tour. There is one happening the 21st of November, so very soon. It tells you what ages it's suitable for. And then it goes through all the iconic places within Sydney and speaking about that pre-settlement time and speaking about traditional knowledges. Fantastic resource to use. I love a lot of interactive things as well, because then after that, you can have great conversations with your student after it. And it can also take that pressure away. If you feel you're very scared to speak about Indigenous knowledges, this is coming from Indigenous voices, and then you can have great conversations after it. On that website, I found is a fantastic PDF that gives you all these lists of resources. So they've given you print-based and web resources to assist teachers on using resources within the classroom. So they give you all the different ones. The one I'm obsessed with, I showed last week, was the Narragunawali, but it gives you all different types of resources. So don't be shy to click into so many different links. It does take time. And it tells you teacher's notes, what to do, what outcomes is it hitting, how can you teach this in a classroom, post activities, suggested activities. Looking at these types of activities can also help inspire you for content that you probably have. I'll link this in the chat, but it will be on the PowerPoint tonight. So fantastic to flip through. Always look at what's happening, what resources are developed, what lesson plans are created, and get inspired from that to put into your own teaching practice. NITV. So I've linked this as well. I showed this in my tutorial last week, but I thought I'd show it on the workshop. Another fantastic resource. It is under SBS. And NITV showcases all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people through sports, entertainment, health and wellbeing, politics, justice, country, you name it, everything is on there. So any videos, anything that is interacting, you can use this. If I was using this within the assignment, I'd be finding something specific. A lot of people saying they are struggling to find resources specific to their land. You can type it in here. So I used to live in Darkinjung country, type in Darkinjung, and it gives me all the different resources out there at the moment that links directly to that land. And then you can start looking into it. A fantastic resource, especially people may be looking at bushfire crises, or we're looking at sports. So we might be talking about that 2025 Koori knockout, and it's got videos there, articles, lots and lots of things, articles, videos. It tells you how long it's going to be, how long it will take to read, but great little tool to use. up in the search bar, pop the land that you are on, or you may want to go through individually and use the categories as up there. Also, another great resource too, if you're ever casually teaching and you're having downtime, you can go straight onto NITV and find something for the students to watch, or do a 15-minute, go to NITV, find this particular document, and then we can have a discussion after it. Another type of resource, I feel like I've bombarding with a lot of resources, but when I start looking, I go down the rabbit hole. This is one, again, if you are in New South Wales, the local Aboriginal land councils can create a lot of resources as well for their area. As you can see, it's popped onto YouTube by Dark and Young, so the local land council, and this is for a sacred site. Again, a fantastic resource to use. It is public knowledge because they have popped this onto YouTube for everyone to see. You can have great conversations after this. And I'm just going to just show you quickly.
Yeah, yama all you mob out there, and again here on, I think it's maybe our 4th episode here of Dark and Jungnura. So we've come to one of the probably the most significant rock art sites on the east coast of Australia. People tend to hear about, you know, rock art in the top end in different areas. Naturally, it's different, and totally different symbolism as such and meanings. And I've brought you here to Kulnura, which is Warri Aboriginal Place. And this was declared an Aboriginal place in 1994. And between Darkinjung Local Aboriginal Land Council, National Parks and Wildlife Service, and State Forest of New South Wales. So these 3 agencies, you know, 2 agencies, government agencies, and an Aboriginal traditional group, as in Darkinjung Local Aboriginal Land Council, had come together to jointly manage this place, which is very special here to local Aboriginal people. As you can see, this site, which they call Warri Aboriginal Place, is around 8,000 to 10,000 years old, but I believe that it's much, much older than that, but mainly because of the evidence of the rock art that's in here. We've got over 280 sites just like this site here at Warri Aboriginal Place, and they all have different symbolism on the actual cave itself. They represent all different stories. I guess you can call these our sort of outdoor classrooms as such too at the same time, because as you can see with the handprints on the cave wall, there's also children right through to women, men, elderly, that are all put their handprints on this cave. So we have a full community here that lived in this time and this space, I suppose, at this in this area. And
Resources like that are so powerful because sometimes you can't always have the funding to take students out to go look at these places, but yet these form fantastic discussions, and you can link that to any subject area. You can talk about your local land, what is around in the area that you are teaching. I know a few students are looking at cultural sacred sites for their resources and doing some deep diving into what resources are out there that you can use in your own teaching practice. But I really do urge you, have a look at different sacred or cultural sites that you may know of around you and see if there's resources that you can use. And again, in this instance, if you can't find anything, using a resource like this in somewhere else is totally fine. It's just acknowledging that, hey, this is located. I would get that IATSIS map up and find and locate where that is, how far away that is from our school, and speak about the importance that how all Indigenous communities are different clans, different language groups, different stories. Yeah, it can be really, really powerful. So assessment is due today a week. So we've got one more week. 11:59. Please make sure you do put a cover page on your assignment, ticking that you acknowledge if you have used Gen AI or not. That's really important. If you do feel like you need an extension, please reach out to student services and get your extension in. I don't like anyone losing any marks, especially if you can try and prevent it. So your 3 resources, breaking it down in any way that you would like, but I want to skip to questions because I want to support you all. I know it's very tricky and so many people are wanting to talk about their resources and give me all their information and then get the approval from me. It is a part of your assignment to do that deep diving, but I can try and help you and guide you if you are on the right track. Hopefully with all of these examples and different starred resources is kind of supporting you. But yes, questions, go ahead. Oken.
Hello, Mehdi.
Hello.
My question is about the structure a bit, like for justification and evaluation, especially the educational value. Is it
Yes,
okay to blend them in, or do
of
we?
course. Yeah, whatever you feel comfortable with. You can blend them both or you can have them as 2 separate sections.
Even we can blend them in the same paragraph? Will it work?
Yep, as long as you feel like when you look at that rubric, you're really hitting that criteria, that you're really speaking about that educational bit and the cultural bit, you're totally fine to do that.
Okay, because I realize I blended them in my first resource, so I don't need to worry to separate them, right?
Yep, that's totally fine.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah,
Hey, Madison, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So my master degree is in early childhood, and I've been working in the field for more than 9 years now. So I'm more in my resources when I was choosing them, I was more into practical work and I was using the things that we used to do in the last 9 years with the kids when it comes to acknowledging the country and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders perspectives. So one of the resources was about the indigenous map. So I was wondering if is it appropriate to link that source into the EYLF and the learning areas when it comes to the outcomes. So is it okay?
Yes, yeah, that's a great resource. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And one more question. The second resource, it was a book for the Aboriginal, and I was wondering if I can link it to the literacy area. So is that okay too? Yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm on the right track then. Perfect.
Yes, totally. I feel everyone would be definitely on the right track as long as you're not using, say, a cultural center to go out and use. We're looking about you as a teacher and how are you using this resource in your teaching practice.
Yeah,
Ben.
thank you.
Hello, thank you. You probably answered this already, so apologies for doubling up, but yeah, mapping out my resources and having fun doing so much deep diving. I was just sort of going like mentioning and part of the assessment, it being about like where we're from, obviously. So I found some really great resources and also some that you've shared. I'm just wondering, is it okay to go resource 1 is this, and then also here's one to back it up to connect it to where we are, like as long as it's about the same, as long as it's about that first resource as well, but it's just that it's connecting it to local.
Yeah. So
yeah.
you can, if you're talking about how you'd use it in the classroom, maybe you can use it in that backup, like you backing it up in that section.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, totally fine.
Thank you.
Jane, I'm just seeing what you said in the chat. Totally fine. I was speaking to someone earlier about this. So there is lots of different clans and language groups. So such as Yugambeh, there's lots of different clans within Yugambeh. And that's totally fine that if you want to use a different clan group because it's so diverse within the Gold Coast, that's totally fine. You're just acknowledging it. Ben. Oh, Ben, I answered you, didn't I? Raymond.
Yeah, hello. I'm just curious, that last video that you played in relation to the traditional site or land area, caves, etc. I proposed that in the discussion board at some point, and you indicated that because I had also some supporting documentation that explained sorry the gorges and such as well.
Yes, so what I'm referring to is like, so you can definitely use like the video or so if it's speaking from an Indigenous person, like that video, or an article that's written by an Indigenous person, like such the
So
gorge, or
you're referring to the video itself, not the actual location.
yes. So instead of using it as going out to that site as your resource, it would be that physical resource of you using it in your classroom.
So what about using the site itself as a visit point for a like a recreational camp for like sport and rec subject?
Give me more information.
So actually taking a group to the site itself and using the site as the resource.
That's a really good question because I do try and say within this assignment, it would be teaching in a classroom, but your scenario is a bit different, as in
So
it's not
I'm teaching HPE and PTT, PTT teaching HPE, and we do year 11 is a sport and rec, and part of that, in the end of the year, we have a sport and rec camp.
Yes,
And we
yes,
go out to a particular site and we cover, natural things, including Indigenous
yes.
and such cultures as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say realistically in the real world, 100%. And this is why I really struggle with uni assignments because it's trying to fit into this little box. I would say if you use a resource like that and speak about what you would do in the classroom prior to then going out to that place
Yeah.
to visit.
Yep. Well, and
Yep.
then of course what we would conduct classes and information and such at the site itself.
Yep. Yep. So what? Yes, exactly. So all we're looking at is how you as the teacher is using that resource and teaching and what skills you'd be implementing.
Okay. All right. I
Yep.
understand.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Raymond. Selena.
Hello, I just wanted to know how much detail we have to give about the session. Do we have to explain which questions we are going to ask and which material we are going to use? Because I just wrote it down in 5 to 6 steps and broke it down because of the word count, but I
Yep.
don't know how much in detail I have to explain the session.
You don't need to go into too much detail. So you won't need that lesson plan per se. Like you would have a lesson plan like any teacher would, and you'd see your resources. So you won't need that. You just give me a brief overview of what you'd be doing in your teaching practice. You don't have to you don't have to implement specific questions. You may only give me 1 or 2 that you may ask students, but it's just a brief overview of what you would do within your classroom.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. Kirsty.
Hi.
Hi.
When you've got the resource itself, if the resource itself you wouldn't necessarily give to the children, you as a teacher would just use it. Would you just separate that within the actual, when you're evaluating it? The resource itself you wouldn't give to the students, but you would utilize and produce a worksheet or something like that? I don't like the word worksheet, but along those lines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a question.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Sorry, I'm trying to read the chat at the same time, making sure I'm covering every basis. Any other questions? Again, be confident. Be confident in who you are as you're going to be a teacher because it really shines through when we read. Be confident about the resources. Everything's going to be okay. Be confident in the content you're going to be teaching too. That's why I say know your content.
I do have a question, sorry, about referencing resources. So if we found an amazing one on the, sorry, I'm still practicing the pronunciation. Is it, you showed it as like a bit of a resource directory.
Narraganawali.
That's it, thank you. Do we reference that site and then the source that it gives you? Like, is that how?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Good,
So
thank
yeah, if you're using a specific resource, fantastic from that. Yeah.
Yep.
Helen.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'll just turn on the video. Hi.
Are you still in Greece? Was that
Yes,
you
I'm
in
in
Greece?
Greece and I'm leaving for England tomorrow.
Ugh.
I'm all over the place. Just wanted to, because I grew up in Bora Ridge, Korokai, I've chosen one resource, the Korokai Healing Stones. That
Mhm,
was a community based project for reconciliation.
mhm.
Now, I've been trying to find the resource, like a video on it, but I just can't find anything.
Yep,
So, will photographs, as I heard that it's not sort of taking the class on site to see it in
yep,
Korokai, which is on the riverbank.
yep.
Um, would photographs be sufficient, and the New South Wales government site that talks about it?
Yeah, that's a resource because it's speaking
Yes,
directly about that resource. Yep,
yes, yes. Because
perfect.
just listening to the conversation that it's difficult. But I tried looking at on that NITV
Yep.
now, and it has nothing on about this project that was done in
Wow.
2018, which is unfortunate. And
Mm,
I've looked into some old videos from Box Ridge,
mm.
Indigenous people there, about the 1967 referendum and everything. And this is about the healing process with this
Yep.
project. But the links are broken, like the video, and that was
Okay.
linked to, I think, ABC, the BBC or something like that. But
Yep.
anyway, I've searched and searched like for a video to show
Yep.
in the classroom, but I'm not successful with it.
Nope,
So
that's okay. That it sounds like you've got the photo, but you've got supporting resource to teach from.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes. And see behind me, I don't know if you can see it, the
I
bundjalung.
can.
No, not this one. I'll just remove that. No, I have some from Mob. They've created some artifacts for me. And I've
Oh,
got
get
this
out.
dreaming snake on the wall here. I just wanted to hang on. But you can't, how do I get the sorry, so you can see it, not blur my background, virtual camera. Adjust background
Click blur background and then unclick it again and it should get rid of your background.
and unclick it again.
And then unclick blur background.
Okay. You see that beautiful
Oh,
rainbow? Yeah,
wow.
good. Yeah.
That is awesome.
I don't know if you can see it really good. I've put it on the wall. People get scared when they walk in. What's that
That's
snake doing
awesome,
on the
Helen.
wall? Because yeah, and they've because that's the totem for the Bundjalung people and the
Yeah.
goanna, the dreaming snake, and the elders also created this didgeridoo for me.
Oh God, aren't you lucky, Helen?
This didgeridoo, it's
Oh,
beautiful,
gorgeous.
and
Oh,
they
the
have
pattern on it is in beautiful.
yes, because I grew up with that community,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
and they gifted me and made all these beautiful artifacts. So
That's awesome. Thanks for showing us, Helen. 2 weeks in a row, we've
yeah,
had
just
someone
wanted to share
sing.
that.
Helen's giving us artifacts. If anyone wants to bring something next week, this is amazing. I'm loving it. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you for listening.
I loved it.
Thank you.
Please forgive me if I say your name wrong. Fabara.
All right, thanks, Madi. So my learning area is digital tech. So I'm looking at um, I, AIATSIS online resource that has authentic indigenous songs and photographs and other materials which I think of using for to create multimedia artifacts. Is that okay, or I should be specific with one of those materials, like the photograph or the song or something? Or is it enough to consider them collectively to create multimedia artifacts without specifying particular resource?
Yes, I'll definitely go specific and choose one of them that you can.
Yeah, can hear.
But that sounds awesome.
Might have happened with your microphone, Madison.
Oh, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Fubara. Madison, you're not audible at all.
I can hear you, Kirsty.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's working now.
We're back.
Yeah.
I don't know how long I was gone for, but
Yeah.
definitely choose one specific. But that sounds awesome what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
All right.
hard. I know it's tricky. This is why assignments, it kills me. But if we were out in the classroom, it'd be amazing. Any other questions before? Some people do have to go to the next tutorial.
I just did have one with regards to the resources in relation to a book. I'm just piggybacking on Ben. If you've got a book and you know that that version's, or say for example, is not going to be available to the assessor, do you want a copy? So if I was reading a story from a book, so it's multiple Dreamtime stories, would it be beneficial to actually have images of the story from the book? Or does it even matter to the assessor?
No, you won't have, because you're going to give us some detail around that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, totally fine.
Thank you.
Oken.
I have a specific question. Like I'm going to play a video for teaching maths before introducing the topic of circles. And it talks about borrowings. And in my lesson justification and evaluation, I talk about taking the class to a site of borrowing, much more like a place-based learning. But is it appropriate for this assignment or no? So I like to learn.
I would try just sticking to the classroom. So what we're looking at as you as a teacher, what are you doing? If you end up going somewhere, or you're going, say you're teaching outside of the classroom, not in the classroom, and you go outside of the classroom, what are you as the teacher doing for your teaching practice?
Yeah, I talk much more about the benefits of taking them out and connecting them with the site of a borrowing and so on. So I'm trying to understand, like, if I took a wrong approach, or how should I adjust?
So, what do you mean a site of borrowing? So what do you mean? Where would you be taking them?
Like the video is in Ugambe country. This school I will be teaching will be also in Ugambe country. So I said, like, I am taking them to a local borrowing site in liaison with Aboriginal education officer and Aboriginal communities in the area. So this is what I said.
Right. Okay. So in classroom context, perfect. For this assignment context, we want to see you as the teacher teaching that perspective. So say if you keep that video, what can you do in your classroom, or how can you embed that video into a lesson? What are you going to do as the teacher to help use that resource to teach the students in the classroom?
Can you say again, please?
So how would you as the teacher use that resource to teach in the classroom? So I don't really want students going out to an excursion or to a place. We want to see you as the teacher using that in your classroom.
In the classroom.
Yeah. So what can you do in that video, and what lesson plan would you create around? What lesson would you do with that?
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone. Would love if someone could come next week with another fun little song or artifact. That was really enjoyable. Please reach out on Blackboard if you do have any questions. If you are in Jade's tutorial next, have a wonderful tutorial. If not, I'll see you at my tutorial this week, or not, I'll see you guys next week in week 4. Have a fantastic evening, everyone, and see you later.